book, Count Your Ways Through Africa. Africa is one continent, the second largest in the world. It is a continent of great variety, including 2 different climates. When winter comes to the south, summer begins in the north. On this one continent, many areas, different nations and people, religions and customs. The huge Siberian desert divides the continent into northern and south Africa. Most of the people live in North Africa and urban. In southern Africa, there are many different cultures and languages. Ivory from the 2 tusks of the African elephant was an important product for traders in the 1500s. Africa was also rich in gold and other values. People from Western countries came to Africa to collect treasure to sell homelands, but not all traders came to find gold or ivory. Many came to capture African people to be sold as slaves. From the early 1600s to middle of the 1800s, about 600,000 Africans were shipped to the United States. During the 1800s, many European countries established colonies or countries they ruled in Africa. They believed they were helping Africa by introducing them to the European ways, but the Africans did not want the Europeans telling them how to live. By the 1960s, most of the colonists had left before they were forced and out of Africa, and former colonies became independent nations. There are 3 main groups of the stone structures in the ruins of the city of Great Zabu: the hill complex, the great enclosure, and the valley complex. Most of the buildings now in ruin were built between 1200 and the 1400s. The ruins have remained standing for centuries because Great Zabu had skillful builders. We also know that people knew how to make up things with iron. People in the West sometimes forget that Africa had advanced civilization before Europeans arrived. The ruins at Great Zabu, now part of the country of Zimbabwe, are proof of these advanced civilization. 4. Banjo has 4 leaf strings. Some banjos have many as 9. The banjo is one of the musical instruments that were brought to the United States by African slaves. African slaves brought much music to the United States. Jazz has African roots, so do many dances. They are popular in Africa and other parts of the world. 5. Tano. The Kanuso Bushmen of the desert rely on 5 simple tools: bow, arrow, hook, staff, and spear. With these tools, they can hunt enough food for their families. They led very hard, simple lives. They live in the small groups because they could not find enough food to feed a large village. With little they had, share each other, question. They do not even have words in the language for hate, jealousy. This language uses clicking sound and is spoken very fast. 6. There are 6 scars on a man's face. These marks on his family group. They are a result of the cuts made on the face during ceremony and then dated or admitted him in manhood. Natation is very important for both boys and girls in many African families. The ceremony takes place where there is adolescence and celebrates the passage of childhood to adulthood. The cuts hurt, but boys and girls understand the pain and is necessary. Not all Africans have initiation ceremonies, and many Africans who live in cities no longer practice this custom, yet some today African leaders proudly carry marks on their face. Saboa. 7 animals are the native to African. They are lion, elephant, hippopotamus, ape, leopard, and rhinoceros. Many of these animals are in danger of becoming extinct or dying out together. In some cases, natural living places. Some of the animals have been taken over by humans or farming or for building towns. Other cases, the animals have been hunted too long by many people. For example, the number of elephants in Africa fell from 130,000 to 600,000. During the 1980s, hunters came to kill elephants even though there was a law against the law. 9. 8 girls started the National Troop Liberia in 1965. They began traveling around Africa and the rest of the world, showing the dances, songs, music, different areas of Liberia. Before the end of the year, the 8 girls were joined by 8 boys. In the middle of the 1980s, the National Cultural Troupe of Liberia numbered 120 dancers, musicians, and singers. Then 9. Lines to the poem, in which English translation is one of the 2 different languages of Rwanda, the other in French. It is sung towards the end of the 1800s by Rwanda warriors. They start out by a battle and they ask to help the king. The heroes are called to arms. Miller Man involves King's Musa. Listen to these heroes. They are going in battle and not to be brave. Also not brave. They all set out armed, bows and spears. Brave battle, we know. They will attack the enemy fiercely. 10. There are 10 tenths in the coma. It was made in the country of Zaire. When Zaire was a colony of Belgium called Belgium Congo, official language is Zaire French. Over 200 languages are spoken this as well. The hair comb is an everyday object. It also works as art. Art in Zaire, other parts of Africa, than something reserved for museums.